Shabbat Shalom. The fall of my junior year of college, I found myself in the dean's office. She had all sorts of comfortable chairs, so I chose one and settled in as best I could. I wasn't exactly sure what a dean was, but I'd been told to meet with her, so I did. I sat and explained to her that I was going to leave the school. I didn't have clear plans for transferring or other next steps, but I had just started to feel more and more like it was time to leave. Something wasn't quite right. I had felt that since the beginning, but it had finally gotten so loud I couldn't ignore it. I was 20, had no idea where my life was going, and I wanted out. She listened as I rambled on, very confidently and assuredly about the fact that I would be leaving and why. She explained the process and said that after I left, there would be 1 year afterward in which I could change my mind and come back without needing to reapply. She looked at me then and said, "But it's pretty clear we won't be seeing you here again. You won't be needing that." That felt true to me, my decision all but made. And then, as the weeks wore on, I never actually left. Stuck for all sorts of reasons, grappling with the fact that if I left, I wasn't sure I would come back at all or would want to go anywhere else, that maybe college wasn't for me, that it was just the thing I thought I was supposed to do. I had friends and community and activities I liked, and I didn't know what lay on the other side. In the end, I couldn't bring myself to do it. I stayed. And then, 10 years later, I found myself again sitting in a dean's office, this one with fewer comfortable chairs but a more beautiful view of a garden, still not exactly clear on what a dean was, though transparently I'm still not sure I know today. I sat down with this dean of the rabbinical school where I was finishing my third year, and I told him I was leaving. Not unlike the first time a decade prior, something just felt off for me. It had been an uphill battle from the beginning, and I was ready to let it go. Even though, also like before, I had no clear path forward. I was not leaving for something else. I had no epiphanies about what other life I would have. I had not taken a full-time job out of state or applied to other programs. I just could no longer justify it to myself. There were too many pieces I still needed to sort out, and I wanted to be done. He, like the college dean, listened and told me similarly that if I changed my mind, I could come back. I nodded, though I don't think either of us thought I'd be back. Well, actually, he definitely thought I would be back, but I did not, though you can see from me standing up here today that I may have lost that bet. But this second time, I actually left. Even though I didn't know what else I would do or what was next, I trusted myself enough to figure it out. I left and created a different life for myself and honored the small voice inside of me that was trying to tell me something. I blocked out the noise and I got quiet enough to hear myself. And I have always felt that in that moment of leaving, I repaired something in the fabric of my life. I finally listened when something wasn't quite right and I left. I believed I could be okay anyway. I could find another way. I got a second chance, and this time, I took it. It may be strange to think of this as a second chance, but I do. And at this time of year in our Jewish calendar, I think we're in a season of second chances. We have been for many weeks now in the book of Deuteronomy, a book in which Moshe is retelling the story of the Israelite people, from slavery up through their whole journey in the desert, telling the people all the stories of where they've been, what they've done, and what they've gotten right, where they've messed up, all the laws and rules that they'll need to follow when they make it to the promised land. The whole book, in a way, is a second chance. His second chance to tell the story of his life and his people's life, with his own flourishes and asides, his version of everything they have experienced. And then also the whole people he's speaking to are about to get a second chance. Many of their parents and friends did not make it through the desert with them, dying at some point on their 40-year journey. And the people who are left are getting a tremendous second chance, a chance at the promised land, a chance for a life they could only have dreamed of while wandering in the desert, the place they had heard stories of for their whole lives, a reality that always felt impossible. And now they stand just on the edge of it. They can see it. Their new chapter is about to begin. Another second chance we come across in this season is the month of Elul that we've spoken about today, a month that will start on Monday night. Elul is the last month of the Jewish calendar and the month leading up to the high holidays. It's often the month in which we begin to do spiritual preparation for the year to come. We start to take stock, to look back at the year, to do some repair so that it doesn't all have to happen in the 10 days between Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. Elul is the month of second chances, a time to look at what we've done and the actions we've taken and to choose differently going forward. It may seem arbitrary to start this work on Rosh Chodesh Elul, the beginning of the month of Elul. Why not the month before that or a random week in the winter? Why now? I didn't just make it up, I promise. In the Kitzur Shulchan Aruch, a 19th century code of Jewish law, we get an answer about why now. It starts by explaining Rosh Chodesh Elul ad achar Yom HaKippurim hema yemei ratzon. It says, from Rosh Chodesh Elul through Yom Kippur, these are days of divine favor. Okay, but why these days? It continues, Ki b'Rosh Chodesh Elul ala Moshe al Har Sinai lekabel luchot shniyim. Because on Rosh Chodesh Elul, Moshe went up to Mount Sinai to receive the second set of tablets. The second set. This is why it is the month of second chances. On Rosh Chodesh Elul, Moshe went up to receive the second set of tablets from God. The second set of tablets because Moshe, had smashed the first set. When he came down from the mountain the first time and saw that people had built a golden calf, in his anger, he smashed the tablets. And now, head down, he makes his way back up the mountain for the second time. This is Moshe's second chance. He is going to try again, to talk to God, to carve the tablets, to bring them back down to the people, and to keep them whole, regardless of what he might encounter with the people when he gets there. He will make a different choice. This all begins on Rosh Chodesh Elul, the first day. And then we see V'nishteh Hasham arba'im yom, v'yarad ba'asara v'tishrei shehaya az gemar kapara. Moshe stays up there for 40 days, just like the first time. He gets to do it all again, exactly like before. The same setup, God and Moshe, the mountains, the tablets, 40 days. And those 40 days, this time, those correspond to the 30 days of the month of Elul, and then the first 10 days of the month of Tishrei, starting with Rosh Hashanah and ending on Yom Kippur. This experience that Moshe has on top of the mountain the second time is the perfect example of the kind of chuva, repair or repentance, that we're called to do in this season. The full process, as many of you know, is best articulated by Rambam, who introduces the concept of chuva gemura, complete chuva. And that is as follows: a situation in which zeh sheba liyado davar she'avar bo ve'efshar biyado la'asoto uverash v'lo asa. Someone finds themselves in the exact same situation they were in before, and this time they make a different choice. Just like Moses climbing back up the mountain, or me sitting in that second dean's office all those years later, or all of us sitting here together today right before Elul. Right before our opportunity to be in the same situation we are found ourselves in many times over this year and make a different choice. Take ownership for the ways we've fallen short, make the apologies we need to make, look at the ways we haven't listened to ourselves. Make sure we're being true to what we know is right, who we want to be. I want to offer one more way to think about this moment on this last Shabbat before Elul. It comes back to the very first verse in this week's Parsha. Look, see before you a blessing and a curse. Moshe is trying to get the people to imagine the future, imagine the consequences of their actions. But maybe there's also another way to see these blessings and curses. Maybe it's not just these prescriptive, forward-looking ideas, but something that can help us prepare during this month of Elul. Maybe this can also be a framework for the ways that we do an accounting, for the ways that we look back, a chance to reflect and clarify what has been a blessing and what has been a curse. What are the ways that we succeeded, the things we're proud of, the way we've grown, and what are the missteps, the things we wish we'd done differently, the ways we fell short? And maybe that's the beginning of making a different choice, truly seeing what has been and equipping ourselves to create something different. And then maybe there's a third way still. It's not just this very binary curses and blessings, good and bad, black and white, this column and that column. If there were ever a time of the year when those lines start to be blurred, it is this one. A time when the walls break down, where things can shift. where maybe what has been a curse this year, what has been a place we've struggled or fallen short, can become a blessing. We can take it and do the work to change it. Something we're not proud of can be reclaimed. With our own commitment, it can begin to move. Maybe in this month of Elul, something can be transformed. And if it feels overwhelming to figure out where to start this work, just choose one thing from this year or even this week that you want to reflect on, interrogate, repair in some way, with yourself, with another person, with God, with a dean at school. And just sit with that thing. Understand it and what happened and how you want to move forward, and then do it. Give yourself the grace to change. Second chances don't always come around, but this week, one is coming for all of us. Make the best of it. Shabbat Shalom.